Hey, it's Paul Dysinger with Born to Grow Online Gardening University, and I had a question come in on Facebook from Abigail Davis that said, what is the best food for their organic veggie garden? And I just love it. This is a great question. I think it's something that we should all should think about, because ultimately we want to grow the most beautiful, healthy, vibrant vegetables that fill our mouths with flavor, and that's our goal. And so what is the best food for your organic vegetable garden? But before I tackle the question, let's just kind of step back a little bit and think about the question as a whole. What's the best food for the organic vegetable garden? You know, what are we feeding? What are we feeding? I think that most of us off the top of our heads, we think, well, we're feeding the plants, right? These are our plants, and I go out to my garden and I look at them, and sometimes they don't look too well. Maybe they're a little yellow, or they look like they're not flourishing, they're not thriving. And so what do I need to do to feed my plants to make them healthy? And this is kind of the same path that modern agriculture has gone down with chemical fertilizers and stuff like that. And I think that it's a little bit short-sighted in the long run, because ultimately when our plants show a sign of not being healthy, it's showing a deeper problem. It's showing a deeper root to the problem, and that is where the plants actually get their nutrients from. And where is that? You know, the plants get the nutrients from the soil, right? And so when it comes to the health of our plants, we should automatically turn to, wait a second, how's the health of my soil? Because, you know, that's where the plant is getting its nutrients from. And then all of a sudden the question stops being, wait, what can I feed my plant? It starts being, wait, how can I build up my soil? How can I feed my soil to create a healthy and robust soil that will be ready to feed my plant the nutrients that it needs? And really ultimately it's that microbiological activity, the life that's in the soil, that even makes the nutrients available to the plants in the first place. So going into this question, what's the best food for my garden, if you want to call it food? Let's talk about how we can feed the soil, how we can build up the soil that forms the foundation for the plant itself. And so probably the top thing on the list for feeding your soil and building your soil up, which in turn, like I said, you know, builds up the plant, the health of the plant. Probably the top on the list is a high quality compost. And that means a compost that has been aged for, you know, up to 2 years even. Probably 2 years would be optimum if you could have a compost that was aged, or even longer. And this is a biodiverse compost that has had maybe kitchen scraps and grass clippings and straw and hay and has a large diversity in it, but one that is well composted down, at least 2 years old, makes an excellent addition to help build up the health of your soil. Probably the next one down to that is worm castings, a high quality worm castings. You know, this is kind of nature's natural method of working the soil, is worms coming in and doing their thing, and what's left behind is worm castings that can be very good. So a high quality compost, and then worm castings, and then there are other things that you can add to your soil. There are other rock powders and stuff, azomite, lime, soft rock phosphate, green sand is another one that has a broad spectrum of micronutrients that you can add to your soil, and also is a source of potassium. And kind of next to that is a kelp meal, which is, you could use that kind of as an alternative to green sand. And what a lot of these rock powders do is they create more of a slow release of nutrients into your soil. So it's not like a quick fix, because what happens with the fertilizers, the chemical fertilizers, is it's kind of like doing an intravenous feeding in some ways. You know, you're pumping nutrients almost straight into the plant. They're in a form that the plant just takes them up immediately, where these rock powders use more of nature's natural methods, because we ultimately want to work with the system that God has created already and release nutrients into the soil, and then the microbiological activity in the soil makes those nutrients become available to the plants themselves. So there's these rock powders. Otherwise, if you're looking for some nitrogen sources to add to your soil, there's ones like alfalfa meal is something that you could look. You could probably get that at your local farm co-op. Alfalfa meal, a feather meal is something you could put on as a nitrogen source. And then also when it comes to composting, I should mention here also a leaf compost. A leaf compost is a great additive to your garden. And something you might want to note is that when leaves decompose, leaves and bark chip mulches and stuff like that, when it decomposes, it uses a different process than your regular compost. The leaves use more of a fungal decomposition process, while your regular compost uses bacterial decomposition. So you might want to keep those two piles separate if you're getting into composting. Keep your leaves to one side and your other compost to another side. But a leaf compost is an excellent additive to your garden. So here, those are just a few ideas of ways that you can help build up the soil in your garden and create a strong, robust, healthy soil that in turn will feed your plants the nutrients that your plants need. And the neat thing about this is that it's a long-lasting deal. The more you focus on the soil, you're focusing on a foundation that can last in your garden for many years to come. So thanks so much for watching this video, and do me a favor, as always, share it with a friend, or go over and like my Facebook page. And if you have some experience, in your garden of ways that you have built up your soil and really created a good foundation for your plants, then definitely leave me a comment in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you.